What hobby in men gives you green flag vibes? Actually read or well-versed in a topic that comes from genuine interest and not egotistical gain. Every animal shelter is about to be full of depressed, sexually frustrated dudes. Oh, and the animal shelters know this very well. I tried to volunteer at one, turns out their shifts are a minimum of 20 hours per week. No thanks. Edit, for everyone who asked, this was in Colorado. I volunteer at an animal shelter and it's 100% women. Both the actual employees and the volunteers. I've volunteered at this for years and at multiple shelters and it's literally always women. I've never met a single man at any of them. I do work more with cats, so that is maybe why, but still to not have ever seen even one man is crazy. Look at your dad. Such a dork. Keeping bees. I mean, at least it's interesting though. At least I wish my dad kept bees. I mean, it's kinda cute. Like, your dad keeps bees? How old is your dad? I mean, he's obviously beekeeping age. I don't know. I think it's kinda sweet. Summer, I want your dad. In one sentence, take care of another living entity, be it plants, pets, or peers. 100% how I landed my wife. I came from out of town to help a friend and his wife who were having a baby by cooking and cleaning for the last week of the pregnancy. They dragged me over to a friend's place who had invited them over. The hostess is now my wife after I approved of her library. My husband's hobby is making firewood. The entire process is his jam. Cutting down deadfall, bucking it up, carting it home, splitting it, stacking it, showing off immense wood piles to anyone who will listen. Burning it. It's cheap and actually saves us like $1 per month on heating. I know this one is 100% real because you roasted the shit out of him while also genuinely appreciating it. Having plants that are actually well cared for. I dated a man who had an entire tree in his home. In a pot. He'd had it for decades. It was named Tree and he loved it. I would talk to it and gently touch it while he made his breakfast. I figured if Tree was important to him, I would form a relationship with it. It was a good tree. I knew someone in college whose hobby was restoring old books, like classics he found in a Goodwill or that had been handed down and were well loved. He would repair the glue, trim down the weathered edges of the pages, etc. My mind was blown, and to this day, I wish I had talked to him more about it. Edit. Apparently this is the red flag of a murderer and I'm out of the loop, so guess you'll see me in the news after being abducted by a stalker who likes book skull. Any hobby that a man isn't ashamed to do because it isn't manly. For example, my husband is a very burly work with his hands manly man, but every night sits down and makes quilts with me. He even has made a few of his own. I do cross stitch. I'm a dude. When I worked in a service industry, I'd sometimes do it on my breaks. The other guys would give me shit. The women were much friendlier. 100% reading. Edit, guys, if a girl degraded or made fun of you for reading, you totally filtered out the trash. And no, reading Reddit doesn't count. A girl in high school saw me grabbing a book, Hannibal Rising, from my luggage. We were returning from a contest that took place in another city, and the first thing she asked was, "Are you gay?" I've never met him in person, but if I ever met a man, friend, family, in-law, doesn't matter, and he has a basement room with the whole Lionel train set up and a faux city, I'd be all over it. Please let me watch, help, set up. Heck, I'll help dust and clean it. I would find it utterly enchanting. So looks like the top 3 are books, pets, gardening, and carpentry, i.e. desire to make yourself better, desire to nurture and take care of others, and life skills. Gentlemen, your weekend project, build a bookshelf and stock it lots of books on pets, gardening, and DIY skills. Pro tip, buy used books so it looks like you've actually read them. By the way, this list is pretty accurate. I asked my wife and she was quite impressed that I had built a bookshelf and that I could cook a meal during our 3rd date. If he has pets and cares about them, truly it is such a green flag. A fairly significant reason why I married my husband was how devoted he was to his cat. She spent her first couple of years living in a woodpile in West Virginia and was not particularly cuddly or easy to love, but she was his princess. Unsurprisingly, he's an 11 out of 10 husband and dad, so that was a good call. My wife loves and hates my now 4-year cooking hobby. Edit, for those that want the coleslaw recipe. 1 head of cabbage, shaved 1 large carrot, cut and sliced 1/2 red onion, sliced, use mandolin if you value your time, 1 red pepper, thinly sliced. If you want it hot, add 1 pepper of choice, but it's really not needed and IMO would take over the flavor. First time my boyfriend came over to my place, we'd only been going out with each other for a couple of weeks. The cat came sprinting down the hallway to investigate who the stupid new human invader was and how very dare I not alert him to his presence. Cat skids to a halt, gets scooped up and was fussed over for a good half hour or so. That's a major green flag that they love animals. Not so much when they then bloody ignore you for 10 minutes every night when they get home from work to fuss over the feline overlord and tell them all about his day. I'm sorry, but I would also ignore you for your cat. The very first time my now husband, Ken, came over to my apartment, he and my cat bonded like they were soulmates. My cat has been a cranky old man since the day he was born. He hates new people in his home and will generally spend the entire time rage hiding in the closet. He especially dislikes men for unknown reasons because I've had the little bastard since he was 4 weeks old and he's never been mistreated by a man. I walk in the door followed by Ken. The cat appeared out of nowhere and instantly latched himself onto Ken like they were old college buddies who hadn't seen each other in years. We obviously had no choice but to begin a serious relationship and ultimately get married. My cat, who I raised since before he should have been separated from his mother, who I have loved and cared for 15 years, would push me into a wood chipper if he thought it would get him more snuggles from my husband. I dated a woman for a few months who told me that a man owning a cat was a red flag for her. I had a cat that she knew about from day one. So I said, I guess I'm not man enough to carry your baggage or something to that effect. That was the last time I saw her. Me and my little orange buddy were happy to get rid of that psycho. Playing board games. This thread is hilarious because it's obviously mostly men naming their own hobbies. Definitely guys who spend all day in the basement driving their Warhammer figurines around on electric trains. I'm not gay, but guys that have vegetable gardens have my approval. Growing your own stuff must be life-changing. When they do volunteer work, I feel like it shows that they have a heart and care, which is rare to find in my age group. It's about balance. A man who, let's say, golfs but not every single weekend, loves live music but doesn't live in a bar, watches sports but not attached to couch, being active and open to learning new things. Extra points for being handy, that's hot. I'm a dude, so my 2 cents don't matter here, but gonna back this up. I used to make hobbies my identity, like I thought I was the most badass rock climber for 20 years. Never talked to my non-climbing friends again, dated only climbers, held back my career, etc. I cringe thinking about it. I still enjoy climbing and many other hobbies now, but no single one will be my identity ever again. Enjoying nature. I was in a long-term abusive relationship and he made me get rid of the dog both times I tried to add one to our life, didn't care about watching birds with me, didn't care to help with any landscaping stuff. I'm now 1 year into a wonderful romance with a man who has outdoor hobbies, watches baby animal videos on YouTube and just bought a house and is delighted in watching birds show up to the feeders he put up. I can share my nature with him and it's fantastic. There was one guy I dated whose hobbies were the greenest wholesome green flags, gardening, cats, baking, loved cooking for other people. My husband is a pro indie wrestler. I went to my first wrestling match to see him. Every wrestler I've met since then has been the kindest people I've ever met. They spend their entire careers making sure their opponent is safe, charity matches, etc. That's a green flag for me. Ladies, date a wrestler. I don't think you can tell whether someone is a cunt or not based on hobbies alone. I mean, if someone's hobby is punching puppies, it'd be a pretty safe bet that they're a cunt. My ex fosters kittens. Watching a gigantic man fuss over a tiny ball of fur was the cutest thing. There was a man at Home Depot in all black, leather biker vest, big gray mustache, having the time of his life picking out pretty bright flowers for his garden. I remember thinking, I hope I end up with someone like that. Not just for the hobby, but how much he loved the hobby. Thoughtful, not immediate replies. I've spent the last 2 hours contemplating your response. After much consideration, I must agree, your words, so elegantly written, compose the entirety of your point. According to most of these answers, the ideal man is a woman. If it were guys my daughters were looking to date, I'd say hunting and fishing. Asked my wife, and she claims reading. Apparently the fact that I like reading history books was a big green flag for her, who would have known Ron Chernow would ever help me get laid. Genuine interest in his hobby, whatever it is. It's so obvious when a guy has adapted a hobby or character trait because he wants to pick up women. Like knowing 4 chords on a guitar but not having the interest to learn anything more. Also, having a genuine interest in teaching you his hobbies, cheering you on and getting excited when you outlearn them instead of just shoving them down your throat and talking about how knowledgeable he is while simultaneously gatekeeping said knowledge. I remember listening to my now fiancé talking to his cats when he thought I couldn't hear him. He was so sweet and amazing to them. We are now engaged. Just saying. Thank you so much for watching. In the comments below the video, write what hobbies raise a green flag for you, and don't forget to check out our other videos. Hug. Bye.